You get good news, something you actually waited for. You sit with it for a moment, and you feel nothing. Not happiness, not even a small wave of something good. Just a flat, quiet nothing. Like the signal got sent, and no one was home to receive it. You tell yourself you're tired. You tell yourself it'll hit later. But later comes, and it still doesn't arrive. And then something even stranger happens. You watch other people react to things, laughing, tearing up, lighting up, and you try to remember what it felt like to be that reachable. Not because you've never felt things deeply, but because somewhere along the way, without any single moment you can point to, you lost access. That gap between life happening and you actually feeling it is what emotional numbness looks like from the inside. And if something in you just went, yes, that, keep watching, because what's causing it is almost certainly not what you think. Most people assume numbness comes from something dramatic, a breakdown, a major loss, one moment that cracked something open and never healed right. Sometimes that's true, but most of the time, numbness doesn't arrive all at once. It builds slowly, over months, over years, one quiet layer at a time. So gradually, that by the time you notice it, you can't even point to when it started. You just know that at some point, things stop landing the way they used to. Here's how it actually happens. You're a functioning adult. Problems come up, and you deal with them. Stress builds, and you manage it. Someone needs something, and you show up. You don't fall apart, you keep moving. From the outside, that looks like strength. People call you reliable. They come to you when things go wrong because you're the one who stays steady. But here's what nobody tells you about that. Functioning, when it goes on long enough without rest, without anyone asking how you're actually doing, starts to cost something. Not all at once, slowly, like a phone that's had too many apps open for too long. At some point, you stopped asking, how do I feel about this? And started asking, what needs to be done right now? You live from the neck up. Think, plan, respond, execute, repeat. Your emotional life gets pushed further and further behind the glass. Still technically there, but sealed off. You stop registering your inner life in real time because there's always something more immediate to manage. And that pattern, once automatic, is hard to even notice because it works. The bills get paid. The tasks get done. Everything looks fine. But somewhere inside all that functioning, you quietly abandoned yourself. And the most unsettling part? Nobody noticed because you were too good at looking okay. Here's a second road into numbness. A different one, maybe more familiar. You tried. You opened up. You cared enough to be honest, to be hopeful, to let people see the parts of you that weren't polished or easy. And it didn't go the way it should have. Not in one big heartbreak. In small ways, over and over again. People who didn't show up the way you expected. Efforts that went unnoticed. Moments where you were honest and it got mishandled. Moments where you were vulnerable and ended up feeling quietly embarrassed for having bothered. So you adjusted. Not dramatically, just quietly. A little less in, a little less expected back. More careful, more guarded. That's not weakness. That's your system protecting itself. But over time, protecting yourself becomes indistinguishable from disappearing. The wall built to keep pain out also keeps everything else out. And eventually, you're not just guarded with the people who hurt you. You're guarded with everyone, including yourself. And then there's the kind of numbness that started even earlier, before the disappointments, before the burnout. Some people grew up in homes where emotions were a problem, where sadness made adults uncomfortable, where anger had to stay small and quiet, where the unspoken rule was, feel whatever you want, just don't let it show. So you learned to mute yourself. At first it was smart. It was how you stayed safe, stayed lovable, stayed acceptable. You learned to read the room before expressing anything. You learned to swallow things quickly and move on. But that skill doesn't vanish when you grow up. It becomes automatic. It becomes part of how you move through the world. And one day, you're a full-grown adult who can seem completely fine in almost any situation because you've had decades of practice making yourself invisible in exactly the right way. The tragedy isn't that you learn to hide. The tragedy is that eventually, you hid from yourself too. All three roads lead to the same place. A life that keeps moving but stops arriving. You go to work, you reply to messages, you show up, You say the right thing at roughly the right time. You can still laugh when something is funny. You can still look like yourself in photos. But inside, things are muted. Good news lands flat. A beautiful day doesn't quite reach you. Someone says something kind, and you receive it in your head before you feel it. If you feel it at all. A person you know you love. And in the moment, all you can access is a kind of quiet distance. And here's what makes this so hard to talk about. It doesn't look like suffering. From the outside, it looks like stability, like you're coping well, like you're fine. So you start to wonder if maybe this is just who you are now. Maybe you've become cold. Maybe something broke quietly and permanently, and this flatness is just your personality from here on out. But here's the truth. Numbness is not emptiness. It's not coldness. It's not who you are. It is what happens when too much has been held under pressure for too long. When the system gets so overloaded by chronic stress, by accumulated disappointment, by years of performing okay without ever actually being okay, that it quietly turns the volume down on everything. Not to punish you. Not because something is permanently broken, because it's trying to survive. And here's the part that changes everything. When the volume drops, it doesn't only lower the pain, it lowers warmth, curiosity, joy. The small, ordinary moments that used to make life feel inhabited from the inside, those go quiet too. You lose the bad and the good, both at once. Underneath all that flatness, there is almost always grief. Not dramatic, loud grief. The quiet kind. The kind that doesn't cry. Grief that you're here, but not fully here. That the world keeps moving and you move with it, but something in you stopped landing a long time ago. Here's what nobody says clearly enough. Emotional numbness hits hardest in the people who look the most together, the most responsible, the most capable, the ones who keep the room calm while quietly disappearing from themselves. Because they learned how to function without feeling, how to seem present while being somewhere far away inside, how to be everything people need while privately running on almost nothing. If any part of this felt familiar, that's not a coincidence. That's recognition. And recognition is not a small thing. It's where everything starts. Because the flatness was never your personality. It was a message you didn't have the language for yet. You were never cold. You were just carrying too much for too long in a way that never looked dramatic enough for anyone, including you, to take seriously. That changes now. If this resonated, send it to someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes just knowing there's a name for what you're feeling is the thing that cracks it open. Drop a comment below. What does emotional numbness feel like most for you? Flatness, brain fog, delayed emotion, or just going through your days without fully entering them? And if you want more honest content like this, subscribe. No noise. Just the things people carry in silence, finally said out loud.